Good afternoon, traders. This is Christian Framhertz, Tribeca Trade Group, and it is Tuesday, June 23rd. It is. Where did we finish for the day? We finished S&P did finish in the green. If you're looking at SPY, for example, SPY finished up 46 basis points, or for some reason it says on my sheet here 44. Q's outperformed again. I don't know what is that, like 7 or 8 days of Q's outperformance. So that continues, and the small caps also finished in the green. A little bit off the highs. You could see that some things kind of peeled back a little bit from the highs. So we're going to talk about the theme of the day. S&P hit 1 hour resistance, so a bit of a pause. So this is what we talked about this morning. And this is kind of continues to be this story, right? I mean, the moves are happening for the most part in the overnight session, and then we kind of come in and we're hitting. In this case today we hit resistance, which is 31.3575. And these are all things that we kind of talked about pre-market, right? This morning, every day we do a pre-market session. I gave a whole big speech this morning. I gave a nice rant this morning about watching your risk and so forth. With that move in S&P futures last night on the possible trade deal ending and all that. Really, the main thing that I was discussing this morning was that this market typically goes up and it goes down, right? So it shouldn't be like out of the ordinary to see a pullback at this, especially at this point. So, just make sure, control what you can control, right? And if you're a seasoned veteran, you know that the market goes up and it goes down, and you're not looking basically. I think some of the newer traders, which is not any of their fault, but they're looking for the market to go up every day unless there's news on the tape. And really, that's not how it works. The market isn't set to go up every day and waiting for bad news. It's just happens. It's supply and demand, and the market should kind of go back and forth at some point, not up in a straight line. So, what we've had, the last 3 or 4 months has been something very unusual. Now, I've been saying this for a couple of weeks, and I'll continue to say it, but don't get used to that. That's, embrace it and try to make money off of it, but just know that the market going basically straight up, while we've got a whole bunch of other things going on and so forth. Again, I'm riding the trend and so forth, but you just have to realize that in the back of your mind, this is not how the market is supposed to work every day, where all this call buying happens and so forth, and in all these momentum names and so forth. So, is it fun while it's going on? Yes, absolutely. But you kind of have to just make sure that you're not getting overexposed at this point, and you don't go into what I refer to all the time. I use the word complacent. Don't get complacent mode just because you're seeing the same thing on the tape every day. Making sure that you're controlling what you can control, and don't get sucked into like all the call buying that we see every single day in all these momentum names, because it shifts. What'll happen is you'll see the same call buying every single day, and then all of a sudden the market will shift, and like those people who bought those calls, they'll lose money. So they'll be wiped out, and then people will be buying puts. They'll be buying momentum puts. It's the other way. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, so what we talked about this morning was, if I can find this morning's note, which yeah, basically just said, hey, we've got. I know this was, what time did I send? This was at 1 o'clock. Uh, I basically said, we've got resistance to get through at 31.35. So today, just to me, and if you kind of look at my trade blotter today, it was probably one of the days that I traded the least, I'd say, out of the last like 5 days. Usually you have to scroll for my trades, right? Usually I trade a lot, right? Obviously I do some day trades, we do some positioning, but days like this, continue to be, and we had some nice trades. Like, as I said in the pre-market session, my plan was basically to take off some trades in the beginning of the day and just see how today would set up, because we could get through value. No one says that we can't get through short-term resistance and get up to 31.89, which would be the next level to kind of watch in S&P. But as always, when the market does this, and this is what the market does, right? The trade over time is to buy the close and sell the open. And over time, that trade works. Now, when I say over time, I wanted to clarify that too. That doesn't mean that you should go out every day and load up on the close. It just means over 10, 20 years. Like, if you're compounding money, right, it's a better trade to be doing that trade versus buying the open and selling the close. All right, so that's how it works. But yeah, I got out of my XBI trade. I was going to roll this trade, and I just decided that I got what I was looking for out of this stuff. And I know some of these trades, they just continue to run, right? And we've been seeing that in a lot of names where they just continue to run. And the more that you roll the position, the better that you do. But, for putting this trade on Friday and seeing this thing go from 105 to 111, I got what I was looking for out of this XBI trade that I talked about. $8, paid 458 on Friday morning, so that was beautiful. NTES, right? So the Chinese internets, we've talked about how strong this group is. We'll just wait for this chart to come up, but this is something where I started a position on Friday, kind of added to it. But look at that. I think this goes higher. I think this one, considering right, if you always measure like the consolidation, like I think this one has more upside to go. So I'm still in this one. And then I took off a bunch of other things like Square. I got out at 105 today. I mean, that's enough of a move. Again, there's no sell signal, and I think overall in the indices, even though we did see the same thing that we normally see, is that the open could be the highest print for the day, or one of the highest prints for the day. Look at S&P futures still selling off, but it's really a test. Like if you're trading every day, you're a full-time trader, it's really like a test of patience. Now, this is just the overall index, right? Which is made up of various different sectors and 500 different names. There were some names that were trending for the day, but something like this, usually like either the open or the first 15 minutes is really like where you want to be kind of taking your profits for the day rather than adding, and then kind of letting the dust settle. But yeah, basically just giving this all back. Interesting how this looks on the daily chart, by the way, just similar to what we saw last week. So this is not like a major sell signal. It's just, we're having trouble closing on the highs in a few of the last days, right? This happened once here we couldn't close on the highs. Obviously Friday, when quadruple witching, we were under a little bit of pressure. Yesterday was a perfect day, and again, as I referred to it yesterday, I would say that you're not always going to get days like that where we open and then we close on the highs. Those days, in my opinion, are few and far between. And I think you can't really think about that happen or expecting that to happen every day. To me, I think on average, they happen like once every 3 or 4 days where we actually like rally throughout the whole session. Those are really nice days. And if you can make a good chunk of money on those days, so be it. But, of course, the plan is, and I know this is very difficult for some, but for the most part, on the open, doing a good chunk of selling and then sitting on your hands, maybe having 1 or 2 day trades. But being careful because, again, we see so much of this momentum call buying right now. And I thought Jim Cramer did a great job explaining it this morning. I think he was talking about PayPal and Square, saying these things they go up every night into the open. So this is just pure momentum. So again, the best way I could try to tell you is to embrace it, but make sure that you're peeling off money every day. And what I talked about pre-market was, if you can't be disciplined with, right now, like what I'm doing is trying to increase my cash balance every day. And if I start adding too many trades, I realize that I've got too much on, and I basically scale it back. And if you're not like super disciplined with making sure that you're increasing your cash balance every day as we move up, take money out of your account. Right? That's one of the best tricks that I could tell you to do. If you operate a trading account, just take some money out of it, and in this way you're not tempted by if you have too much of a cash. Because sometimes if you have a whole chunk of change, that's basically your cash balance is huge in your account. Sometimes you just get drawn into trades because every one of these trades that we see on the tape, like today we saw big Visa calls that went up today. They all look good, right? All this option activity looks good, but you know that they're not all these trades aren't going to work out, right? You're going to hear a lot about. There was a announcement after the close with Dell. I mean, they've been buying calls in Dell. We've seen Dell calls go up a couple times, but we've seen about call buying in about 200 other names too. So it's really difficult to, and I know you're going to see people on Twitter tonight. Oh, how do they know they bought calls? They've been buying calls in every technology company. So, in most consumer discretionary companies too, healthcare names too. They've been buying everything. So to think that you got a signal from Dell, if you took that Dell trade, we looked at it, and I know a couple of traders in the room took it, but you know, but this is at least something nice. Like this Visa is some nice positioning out in December because most of what we're seeing is all either for all this momentum call buying, it's all basically front month or it's weekly stuff like either this week or next week or July options. That's the majority of what they're doing. And the reason why we're seeing that type of call activity is because everyone knows the market is just running on momentum. So there's no reason to be in, position out a couple months because at some point this swing is going to end. Now, when does it end? I have no idea. Um, but that's why you kind of try to stay in it for as long as it lasts, participate, but make sure that you lock some up as you go along. What else? I mean, these growth names, right? Every one of these software names has gone up, and I've gotten a lot of questions about this software name and that software name. Um, I think at this point, we could look at a few of these. Making sure that you're locking something in is important up here. I mean, shop has gone up from 750 to 900. I get a lot of questions a lot of times in the trading room. Hey, can you look at this stock? And sometimes I know what the chart looks like before I even bring it up. There's not much I can really tell you at this point. Is this move extended in Shopify? Absolutely. So it's extended, and if you're not taking some money off the table here after a move from 772 top of value past R1 to R2. And if I know I'm going to, and I can't tell you what to do, I'm not giving out any advice or recommendations. But if you're not taking some money, if you're in Shopify and you're not taking some money off the table, I don't know what you're thinking. Now, if you're a long-term holder, right, and you've been holding Shop for a couple years, I mean, I have Shopify in my tactical portfolio. I have not done anything with it yet, but maybe I do start to take some, add to my cash balance in that. Somebody did ask me that question and said, "Hey, what are you doing in terms of you own Shopify and you own some of these high flyers?" So I might do that. I did not do it today, but if we go into the TTG portfolio, right, you could see that, and I'm happy to show you. This is the last rebalance that I did. We added, this is last week, we added Square, Twilio, Vertex, Zillow. I think all four of those did really well. But I think at this point, I've got 14% cash. Maybe I bump that up a little bit at this point, or maybe diversify a little bit away from that. But I mean, Apple, Amazon, these things have gone. I mean, Apple was tremendous today. Where did Apple close today? So new high 372. So the other thing is, as we look at more names that are doing this, it becomes that there's less trading opportunities, right? So if you're sticking with the trend with some of these names, congratulations to you because that's where you make all the money. Is rather than trying to trade in and out of things every day, intraday. If you're just sitting with some of these things, as I am, excellent, good job. But at this point, I think there's nothing wrong with taking a little bit more money off the table. So that said, I will probably sometimes I do this a day late. So maybe if we do get a market pullback, maybe I'll be a day late with doing that. But I think PayPal's been in here for a while. It's unfortunate I don't have the performance anymore from this because I'm waiting for Folio to move the performance over from Motif. But we've basically done very well with this. You could see the names that are in here. All right, guys, that is it for today's video. So again, another trading day where I think being disciplined and making sure that you're not adding and chasing exactly in the wrong place. Again, if I didn't show you this before in the S&P, but I would say the level to watch to see if we can get to this version point of control is going to be a move above 31.36. Have a great night, everybody. See you tomorrow.